The last time we met, we went through the Unit 3 presentation on budgeting, and then there was one worksheet to complete. It was this 3.1 Vanessa's budget. Go ahead and look at this. So we were presented with this look with where Vanessa was starting to plan out her monthly expenses. So she created a list of how she planned to spend her money. Then on the bottom half of the worksheet was a list of how she actually earned and spent her money. We were to take that information, put it onto this worksheet on page 2, in which her plan went in the budget column, her actual spending went in the actual column, and then any differences in that third column. And then we had some questions here to look at. So let's walk through this and take a look at what this should look like. So it says Vanessa works part-time at a greeting card company, part-time at a record store. Net monthly income for the first job is 600. Net monthly income from the second job is 800. So we would have 600 here, 800 here, with a total plan of 1400. Her planned fixed expenses for the month, $200 will go toward rent, 175 for a car payment, and 120 for car insurance. Her planned variable expenses, $100 for savings, $150 for food, $40 for gas, $50 for clothing, $60 for entertainment, 15 for personal items, 15 for household items. All right. And so then if we add all of those planned expenses up, that comes out to be $925. Now, how the month actually went, she earned her planned income from both jobs plus $45 in overtime. So she did earn that $600 and $800. I'm going to put the overtime and other just to signify that difference. Okay, so she ended up earning $1,445 with $45 difference. How her money was spent, they signed a new apartment lease. Rent went up to $225. Monthly car payment was $175. Oh, so that was $25 more than she anticipated. Car payment was $175. Insurance went up to $195, just $75 more than she expected. $190 went for food, which was $40 over. $60 for gas, which was $20 more than she budgeted. $34 for parking and tolls. She had budgeted nothing, so all $34 is overage. $220 for car repairs. Again, she budgeted nothing, so all of that was over budget. $80 for new shoes. We'll put that in clothing. 30 more than her budget. $70 for entertainment, which is 10 over. $60 for personal items, which is 45 over, and $56 for a birthday present from her mom. I'm going to just put that in other expenses. All right. In addition, she had unforeseen 2 speeding tickets. Total was 230. I'm going to put that because that had to do with her car. I'm going to put that in transportation other. All right. Now, there's no mention of any other spending or allocation of money. And so let's see. She had planned to put $100 into savings. There's nothing that says that she did. So she was 100 under her savings goal. Let's see. She also planned on putting $15 toward household items. She put nothing there. So that was 15 under budget. So that's a good category to be under budget. Savings, not so much. All right. If we add up all of her expenses, it comes out to be $1,595. And then if we come over here into this column, if we add up all these differences, so if we start at 0, minus 100 plus 25 plus 75, that all gets us back to 0, 40, 20, 32, 34, 222, 30, 30, 10, minus 15, 45, 56. That comes out to be a difference of 670. And we can double check that by taking the difference here. 1595 minus 925 is also 670. So the difference here should be the same as the sum of all the individual differences. And in this case, it does. All right. So that's a quick check to make sure that you're at least on the right track. If you add up these differences and you get one number, and then you take the difference here and it's a different number, you know somewhere there's a mistake, there's an error, because these differences, right, are just the individual differences of the individual costs that got us to these two numbers. So the sum of these columns, right, and the sum of this column should end up mathematically getting us the same result. All right. Now, given that, we've got some questions to answer. All right. Number one, what's the difference between her planned expenses and her actual expenses? Again, that was right here. Okay, so that's 670. In what areas did she overspend? Okay, she overspent on rent because the contract for the lease was renewed at a higher rate. Transportation, you could have just kept it as a lump transportation, or if you got really specific, she overspent on insurance, gas, parking, repairs, and other because of the speeding tickets. All right, she overspent on food because of that dinner party, clothing, entertainment, personal items, and other category for that gift for her mom. Where did she spend less than planned? Savings and household items. Savings, not the best category to underspend. Any of the other categories are fine generally to spend under budget. How much did she put into savings? Again, we saw that she planned to put $100 into savings, but she actually didn't. Not only did she not put into savings, right? She earned 1445, but she spent 1595. So she spent 150 more than she earned. All right. Now, the only way to cover it, spending more than the amount of money that you earned during that time period is either to take money out of savings or to use a credit card. Um, she didn't have a credit card statement to pay this month, so maybe she'll have a credit card statement next month, or her savings has actually gone down. Either way, that's not a great situation to be in. Number five, why do you think auto insurance company raised her premium? Right. So if we go back here, we see that auto insurance, she expected to pay 120 and it went up to 195. Generally, your insurance stays the same every month unless you do something that can trigger an increase in the cost. In this case, right, what does insurance? Insurance is the cost of protecting you as a driver from monetary expenses that are beyond your control. So if your car gets damaged, if you cause a car accident that causes damage, if somebody gets injured in an accident, right? All of those types of things would be covered by your auto insurance. All right. In this case, why would the auto insurance think that she's becoming a riskier driver and would increase the likelihood that she would be involved in an accident or be involved in something causing damage to the car? Probably because she's speeding, right? The two speeding tickets would signal to the insurance company that she's a riskier driver. That signal would oftentimes lead to an increase in that insurance premium. All right. How could she avoid this cost? Really easy to avoid speeding, right? Follow the traffic laws. As some of your worksheets were coming in, I was looking at answers, and some of the answers were like, don't get caught speeding, right? Which, yeah, it's true. They're a little bit different. Don't get caught speeding versus just don't speed. So yeah, if you're going to speed, don't get caught, but maybe don't speed in general, right? Follow the traffic laws. Number six, how closely did Vanessa follow a 50, 30, 20 breakdown? How far was she off? So I've got a note here. Your specific designations, what you deem to be needs and wants and so on, might be slightly different. But here's how I broke it up. Needs, her rent, her car insurance, right? Costs to operate that car, gas, so on. Food, personal items could be a need, right? If it's things like soap, shampoo, toilet paper, right? We need those things just to maintain our health. Okay. I also put auto repairs in the needs just because, again, if she needs that transportation, she's going to need whatever repairs are necessary to keep that car functioning. Okay. I did split some of this though. She had budgeted 150 for food and she spent 190. So I put the other $40 that she went over into wants, right? Having that dinner party, that's not a need. So some of that food cost is just basic needs. Some of it though is going beyond that, right? Same for gas. She had initially budgeted $40 for gas. So I'm assuming that's the amount that she needs to get to school or get to her job, whatever. Going over that probably is extra travel that becomes a want. Okay. You know, 230 into speeding tickets. She doesn't want to pay those, but she does have to pay it. Generally, we would take those types of like consequential spending out of her wants. Should come out of her fun money, not her needed expenses. Um, shoes, entertainment, right? Her gift, all of those I put into her wants. So I ended up putting 1,020 into needs, 575 into wants, and of course we saw she put 0 into savings. All right. Breaking down the plan for her 1,400, when she planned on earning 1,400, a breakdown of that would have been 700 to needs, 420 to wants, and 380 to savings. If we look at her actual what 50, 30, 20 would have been of her actual spending, it'd be nearly $800 to needs, just under 500 for wants, and 319 for savings. Again, she obviously spent more on needs and wants because she put nothing into savings. Okay, based on her actual spending, or if she'd spent 5095, an actual 50, 30, 20 breakdown would have been 1025. Or I'm sorry, this is what her actual was to compare. Her actual spending was 1020 into saving needs, 575 into wants, 0 into savings. So we can kind of see how that lines up. All right. Again, how you categorized, what specifically went into needs and wants could have been slightly different. But hopefully you saw that because nothing went into savings, that was a result of overspending on both needs and wants. Number 7, how can an envelope system of variable costs have help prevent her from overspending, right? Again, think back to what an envelope system is. We take cash out and put them into designated envelopes for specific categories. So had she put money into an envelope for food or for clothing or for, personal items and so on, that would help her prevent overspending in that category. It would have helped prevent her overspending in food, overspending on gas, overspending in clothing this month, right? Maybe instead of going over budget on those shoes that she wanted, she keeps the whatever, the $50 for clothing, and she carries that over into the next month. She budgets 50 more into clothing. Now she's got $100 in that envelope. Next month she can afford those shoes with staying within her budget because she carried some of that money over, right? Instead, though, she overspent on several categories. If we come back up here, right, we had a whole list of categories where she overspent because she wasn't being diligent with sticking within her budget. And so the envelope system can help that by limiting us to cash expenses, right? Because you can't, if you're using cash for spending, you can't spend more cash than you actually have. All right. And so that could potentially help her avoid spending more than she budgeted in those categories in the future. Number 8, did she have a zero-based budget? No, she didn't. Right. If we come back up here, a zero-based budget would be in a case where every dollar that she planned on earning was given a purpose. Right. She planned on earning $1,400 and she only planned on allocating $925. So what happens is she had $475 that weren't allocated to a category. And what happens is when we have that situation, okay, we end up overestimating how much extra we have and underestimating when we start to spend over in categories, how much we've gone over, right? So let's say that she was in the situation with $1,400 planned earning, $925 allocated to her various category expenses, and then her roommates say, "Hey, we should throw a dinner party with some friends." And Vanessa says, "Yeah, sure. I've got more than $400 extra that wasn't budgeted. I can afford that." And then they say, well, let's go into the city and we need to pay extra for gas and we need to pay for parking. Yeah, no problem, because I've got that extra $400, right? She gets pulled over for speeding. She's like, "Oh, this sucks. I don't want to have to spend my money, but thank goodness I had that extra 475 that I didn't budget somewhere," right? And then what happens is you start to overestimate and over rely on that extra that you didn't budget, and you start to kind of under evaluate and underestimate how much of that you've already spent. Whereas if she had designated all $1,400 somewhere in that budget, if they decide to have a party and invite some friends over one night, she would know, okay, if I increase how much I'm spending on food, I need to decrease how much I'm going to plan on spending in other categories instead of relying on that extra. All right. And so that's another way that she got into trouble, is that she could have followed the envelope system. She could have followed a zero-based budget. Again, not doing either of those and just relying on, well, I hope I don't spend that extra money that I didn't budget, usually doesn't work. All right. Because again, you just human condition of overestimating how much extra you have and underestimating how much you've already spent. All right. I will put this answer key in the 3.99 folder so that if you want to go back and look at any of those numbers or any of my explanations a little bit more closely and in depth, you certainly can. All right. Moving on, continuing in the 3.1 folder. All right, for today, there are two videos here that just review, again, zero-based budget. They're both relatively short and quick. I'd like you to watch both of those videos just to kind of review what we talked about last time. And then if you scroll down, you'll see this assignment called salary-based budget instructions. What you'll do is you'll go through this presentation, all right, and the very first slide after the introductory is a link to this salary-based budgeting spreadsheet. Okay. And so you'll see that there are various categories of spending, specific items within those categories. You will fill out the amounts that go into this. This percent, the percent of monthly income, will calculate automatically for you. And then anything that's highlighted here, you'll record what's specific to you. All right. And so anywhere that is highlighted is what you will put in. So notice the cost of transportation, the cost of living, right? These total costs aren't highlighted because it'll calculate that for you. For example, let's say that I put $200 into savings and 150 into retirement. You'll notice that that automatically calculates for you. That's why it's not highlighted, because you don't need to do anything there. Okay. Let's say additionally, let's say that I had a net monthly salary of 3,000. Now this is going to calculate automatically for you as those category changes. Okay, it'll show you how much is going specifically to that category. Okay, so let's say that my rent was 350, renter's insurance was 25. Let's say I have a cable package or something, $50. Internet is $80. I don't have a home phone. I just have a cell phone, say $75. And let's say electricity and gas is another 200. Okay. You can see that that added all up for me, and it's showing me the percent of that $3,000 that went toward that expense. All right. Now, obviously, as I fill this out, right, I'm going to also, if there's choices to be made, I need to include that over here. Now, where would these numbers come from and where would those choice options come from? They're going to come from this presentation. All right. So as you go through this, okay, you'll notice that as I click through the presentation, it's telling me these steps to take. Okay, on this presentation, you'll notice this first column is labeled step. So every step that I'm on here as I go through this, okay, corresponds to one of these steps along here. So it should walk you through it relatively straightforward. Now, there will be times where you have to click out of this. For example, when it comes to calculating your salary, okay, you have to click on this career search tool, figure out what type of job you might want, right? And so when I click on that, it'll exit out of that presentation and come over here. And so then I can search for the type of job that I may want. Okay. But as you go through this, again, a salary paycheck calculator will help you calculate how much will be your gross down to your net and so on. So use these hyperlinks that are within the presentation to help you fill this out, but pay attention to what step you're on each time, because that's going to correspond to what step you're on in the actual budget spreadsheet. All right. Now, as you go through this, the goal is to get to a zero-based budget. So you'll notice at the bottom here, it says if you have a deficit, okay, meaning if you are spending more than you earned. A budget deficit means you didn't earn enough to cover your spending. Okay. If you have a deficit, you need to go back and find areas that you can cut back. If you have a surplus, meaning you earned more than your planned expenses, okay, go back and figure out where you can allocate more money. Maybe it's to fund things like eating out, like entertainment, whatever. Maybe it's putting money toward future goals. And so you're putting it into savings, whatever you want. Okay. The budget doesn't make value judgments in terms of how you allocate your money or how you spend your money, but you do want to get to a zero-based budget. All right. So you want that balance to equal, you want the amount that you're spending to equal your net monthly salary. In other words, to get yourself down to zero. All right. Once you get through all of that, all right. So you can see I started at 3,000. My total spending was 1,130 so far. So I've got 1,870 of this 3,000 that hasn't been allocated. So you want to get that down to zero. You want your monthly salary to equal those total costs. All right. When you get through that, and when you get it down to a zero budget, okay, coming back to our 3.1 page, immediately below the presentation with the instructions is this salary-based reflection. Okay, there's a hyperlink here to the next Google Docs, and you'll see that it takes you to this worksheet. It's 2 pages that just kind of reflects on the process of creating that zero-based budget and some of the choices that you make. All right, when you have finished this, so that you get this to a zero-based budget, you fill this out completely. All right, then you're ready to turn it in. Notice the instructions talk about you're going to turn in both of these files. You're going to turn in this spreadsheet and you're going to turn in this worksheet. All right, the worksheet, just like we've done throughout this course, you're going to go download as a PDF. For the spreadsheet, because it's a Google Sheet, it is a little bit different. There's a graphic here that helps walk you through, kind of display what you need to do when you are printing or downloading this spreadsheet. All right, you'll, just like with the other worksheets that we've done, you'll go to File, Download as a PDF. All right, but then it pops up this this view that allows you to kind of format how it downloads. All right, and notice you have to make 2 changes. You have to select portrait. So it's probably going to default to landscape. We need to change it to portrait. That makes it vertical. And then the other change is fit to width, or sorry, fit to page. If I go to fit to page, okay, now that ensures that the entire spreadsheet will fit on 1 page of a document. All right. And so then you can export it and that'll download. I don't know why they label that button export, but you'll hit that and that'll actually download it. So then you'll have the spreadsheet downloaded, you'll have this downloaded, you'll attach both of those to this submission. All right, so that's what you got today. Remember, on the 3.1 page, the first thing I'd like you to do is go back and review those 2 videos on zero-based budgeting, because that's what we're going to practice today. Come down to this 3.1 salary-based budget instructions presentation. Remember, that's got on the second slide the link to the budgeting spreadsheet that you'll use, and then go through this just step by step, making sure that you're lining up the step on here to the step as it applies here in that first column. All right, and then when you're done, finish that reflection, submit both of those worksheets. All right. As I always end the class, reach out to me if you have questions. If something isn't working, if something isn't making sense to you, please reach out. Otherwise, get to work. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk tomorrow. See ya.